Her podcast.
Hey, you.
Her is me, her is you. Her is us, her is she, her is we. United we stand, baby, that hurt for keeps. I'm coming and I demand my space, I know it's free. I owe myself the world, they tried to count me out. I've been down some dark roads, they tried to pound me out. From cloudy to sunny, ain't think that I would make it out. I needed positive emotions to fill me out. I'm looking in the mirror, never liking what I saw. I heard a few stories like mine, I'm standing tall. See, I am not alone, we made it through. She more confident, so I'ma claim it too. Her strength is now my strength, so yeah, our spirits fused. I needed to hear your story, I needed you. You see the footprints in the sand, yeah, we walk through. Hand in hand, ain't have a plan, can't let it fall through. See, life hurts, she, me, we, her, hit all the curves. So take my word forward, don't try to ignore it, deep explore it. Catch that silver lining and shine and be here for it. See, life hurt, and life hurts. I'm like her and she like me, we.
Hey y'all.
Hey.
I am so excited about today. And of course, I know y'all already. So starting with Tamiya, can you introduce my audience to you? We can't hear you, girl. Yo, you still on mute.
I was definitely on mute. Hey everyone, my name is Tamiya Faulkner. I am the CEO of Liv Life Media, which is a creative marketing agency and communication strategy firm. I also am the founder and creator of She Rocks event, celebrating and highlighting women in visual and performing arts as a showcase. And then we just launched the State of Film Art, which is a platform to help bring resources through conversations, events, resources for women in the arts as well as women creatives.
Dope. Okay, Liv.
Hey everybody, I'm Liv Arnold. I am the owner of Emerge Consulting Firm. We actually do brand identity and development, but I also do creative coaching for many women. I help them find their identity. I help them amplify their voices in digital spaces so that they can launch digital products. And I am also the founder of A Bolder Woman. It's a movement and community for women of faith, and also a merch clothing line. So it's super exciting that I just launched that.
Yes, congrats. Okay, Vanessa.
Yes, nice, Master Michelle. I am a technical coordinator for Modop, which is a digital marketing agency. I'm also a journalist and YouTuber, and that's me. I talk to people about their journey, the entrepreneurial journey, in a very vulnerable way, and I have a good time doing it.
That is amazing. So, first and foremost, I appreciate y'all for being on here tonight. A lot of times people make it seem like their job is so easy, and we have amazing creative content that we post on a daily basis or whenever we feel like it. So, could you guys explain to everyone how hard it is to even keep up with content and keep pivoting constantly, keeping up with everyone else of the new?
I'll go first because I'm definitely the post whenever you feel like it person. I think for me, because I work so heavily in this industry on the corporate side of things, that being doused with social media all of the time, digital marketing all the time, it can get exhausting. And sometimes, honestly, you lose that creative spark. Sometimes because it's just information overload, creativity overload all the time, 24/7. And one thing that I pride myself on is when it comes to my personal brand, at least, I definitely want to be authentic, and I don't want my creative flow to feel forced. I know what it means to keep up with the trends, to keep up with the algorithms. But at the same time, I think for me, I'm also big on making sure that I'm integrating wellness and well-being as a part of my lifestyle. So for me, right now I'm in the process of looking for others to sort of delegate that process to. But in the meantime, when I do post, especially to our brand channels, it is going to be something that is authentic to experience we're providing, a conversation that we're having, or it's going to be a resource for those that we're connected to. And so that is how I pretty much keep up, just because when it comes to my clients, as well as, again, being in corporate America, it is exhausting. And so for me, I have to find others to delegate those responsibilities to.
Yes, indeed. Anybody else?
Yeah, I'll go. Honestly, as a as a creative confidence coach, I'm literally teaching women and training women on how to develop content on an everyday basis. And so when it comes to me, I can fall short, because I'm so, like Tamia said, it can be very overwhelming. And I've really developed a hypersensitivity online. As soon as you get online, you hear music, you hear somebody speaking. And so there's like there's a high level of sensitivity just to sound when I get on. And so I don't have it every day, because I'm constantly pouring out all the time. So when it comes to me, sometimes I don't have it. And also with a faith-based business, I don't usually speak unless I have something to speak about. I believe in authentic messaging. I believe in providing resources. I believe in providing transparency and vulnerability. And so if I don't have it that day and I don't have it to pour out, and I know that you're not going to feel it on the other end, you're not going to get it. And so that's just the reality of it. Anything I go hard about my content. If anyone follows me on Emerge with Liv on Instagram, every message I have is from the heart, it's from the core. And I go heavy with it because, I want that to translate on the other end, it's a level of not only positivity, but also encouragement. And so I don't have that every day. I would be crazy to say I had that every day. I don't.
Right. I would definitely have to echo that, Liv, too, because when you're in this space of like, okay, branding, storytelling, you are more sensitive to what you're publishing consistently. And so I know for myself, it is difficult because I output so much for clients, or I output, for whatever else, that sometimes my own content, goes by the wayside. But one thing I often try to do is make sure that I'm sticking to the same story. And that's just a big thing for me, like as a journalist, period. It's like I want to make sure I'm sharing the same thing about myself and finding different ways to talk about that. Because even if I don't show up, people are going to at least know, like, Vanessa Michelle loves her coffee. She going to talk very candidly about relationships or business or whatever, about confidence. And if I keep drilling that, then it makes it easier. So when I show up, the conversion is higher versus like trying to put out so much, because it is daunting.
Yes, it definitely is. I will say the most difficult part is keeping up with the algorithm.
Yeah.
It fluctuates so much and it's so difficult sometimes because you will go from getting like hundreds of likes to 2, 3, 4 likes, and you have to constantly keep up with hashtags and things of that nature. What advice do you have for guys for actually keeping up with the algorithm and what direction they should go into to even keep it consistent?
I think it goes back to what Vanessa said as far as keeping the story and the messaging consistent. The algorithms are constantly changing when it comes to the social media marketing companies. It is a constant thing. Being in these meetings with the rep, being, with the reps from different partnering organizations, agencies, as well as the social media companies, they're constantly pivoting when it comes to the algorithm and their approach to how they handle things, because they have to keep the platform uh, engaging for their target audience. And once you continue on one way for so long, it gets monotonous. And so they're going to constantly be switching it up. But if people see that your content is consistent, that your message, who you are, is authentic, and you have brand alignment with, the content that you're putting out consistently, people are going to flock to that. And so I would just say, really make sure that, of course, your brand message is authentic, that you're being consistent. I know that people hear that all the time, but also look at ways to pivot when it comes to trending topics, especially within the news cycle. And so if you see that there is something that you can speak to that is trending within the news cycle, be creative around that aspect of things. And I know Vanessa, as a journalist, can definitely speak more to that, but that's the advice that I would give.
That is
Yeah,
super
I feel
dope.
like too, like building structure. Like that's what I've noticed for myself. Like even if I can't get to post when as many times as I should. I know for my clients at least, there's a certain day, certain time that we're always posting, even if it's just like testing. And I noticed that when Instagram or Facebook sees that behavior, they like the algorithm starts to work better in your favor versus being everywhere, posting everywhere. Um, I would say building that timeout has helped significantly for the clients that I've worked for, in the past, and testing out, which times work better, which posts are more engaging. I think one thing that's overlooked is that the comment section gets a little neglected. It gets neglected from people. So I feel like that too helps with the algorithm, because in my thought, social media and the way that the algorithm works reminds me of like teachers. Like they want you to do the work, but they also want you to participate in class and talk. And it's the same thing with the algorithm. If you're not talking to the platform, if you're not engaging with it in a particular way, it's really going to be hard to capture the kind of data that you want.
Yeah. Honestly, I would say just really keeping your eye open, because as it's already been said, it's changing constantly. 1 minute, especially with Instagram, it's chronological order. 1 minute it's not chronological order, and as we've seen recently, they've put out that authentic voices is going to be pushed out more heavily than anything else. So that means that if you're doing green screens, you're going to be pushed out. If you're doing voiceovers, that's going to be pushed out. And so really finding your stride, finding that sweet spot that makes sense for you. And again, being very consistent with what you put out. Understand your message enough and make sure that your message is that you have it down to a T, to where everything that you're putting out, it relates in some kind of way. It marries each other in some kind of way. That way you become the subject matter expert. You become the thought leader with that particular topic, and people are constantly coming to look for you in those different areas. You can't ever lose if people know you for particular topics. And so the algorithm will always go in your favor, despite how much ever content you put out that week. It's always going to go in your favor because people are always looking for you. So that would be what I have to say.
Yeah, I feel like the algorithm is like a really good friend if you like work it right. It's like, oh, I see you, pull up. I'm gonna keep seeing you, and I'm gonna keep showing up for you as long as you're showing up for me. And like that's really how I see it. I'm like, okay, algorithm, I'm here for it. I will show up as long as you're showing up for me.
Yeah. Also making sure that and I know most people know this by now, but some people don't, because I work with people every day that don't know that trending sound is everything.
Yes.
Trending sound will keep you going I could have not posted for 2 weeks and I got one popping song and everybody's flocking to it. And now I got 20 new followers, 60 new followers in between a day and a week. So using those trending sounds, and like to me, it's hopping on the trends. Even if you're not a person, that you're not a dancer, we all started off dancing. I can't dance to save my life. But still, I find a way to use those songs creatively to work for me.
Right.
What you saying, trendy sound. This is like my first time ever having a trendy sound, and it was a guy, DJ Team Will. I found him on TikTok. Yeah. And he had literally just made the song, just posted it and everything. I'm like, oh, this is nice. So he remixed a church song with a ratchet song. And it was just the beat just came together. So I'm like, let me post this on Lifer, this girl demonstrating it. So I posted it. Literally, I have so many people using that specific sound right now as we speak. Like over 1,000 people have used the sound. And then right behind that, I have over probably 1 million views on it right now. And it's still going constantly.
You was dancing?
I did nothing. But
I'm like, hold on, let me pull that up because I ain't see it.
I didn't do nothing but post it. But what I have learned was finding new trends helps out a lot too when you catch it in the new. Yes. And most people haven't gotten wind of it yet. So that's very kind of easy to find, but you usually will find it more on TikTok than you will find it from Instagram, because usually TikTok videos usually revert over to Instagram anyways. So that's why I've been so like into TikTok as much. And you also have to know, what do your audience like? I have a mixture of audience that is like very different. I don't know. It's a wide range from like 18 to 60. I don't know how it happened, but it happened. And it's like somehow 1 minute some of them like all the stuff, 1 minute a little portion of it. It's just different things, but it's good to actually know your audience and actually feel what do they like and what they don't like. That's why every now and then it's good to test something new and see how will they react to it compared to something different. And like most of my audience, they like music.
Right. And
It's
I want to piggyback on that because that's such a good point. I think for some of the classes that we've done, it's interesting. Like what I tell people is like your followers is like the rawest data you could ever have. If you have a post where you're giving facts about A, B, and C and no one likes it, or it's very minimal, that's data. Like that is raw data. Like we don't have to overthink the data process, whatever. That's telling you, okay, the audience is they are not as attracted to that. But if you post something where you're giving advice and you're dancing and you whatever, and people like that, run with that. They want that entertainment piece, but you're also hitting them with whatever your regular messaging is or advice or whatever. And I think people overlook it because they're looking for something else. But it's like your audience and how they're engaging, that's the data to follow, like organically.
Well, a lot of times when people look for something else, they're looking at other people's platform.
Yeah.
And that's a whole part of minding your business. Like you seriously got to mind literally your own business and actually see what works for you and for your audience. Sometimes a lot of people try to gather themselves up with so many people and compare when you are your unique self. As long as you be yourself, you will see a lot of people starting to fall in love with you, and then they will fall in love with your brand overall on what you post.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
I have a question for the audience in the room here.
Go ahead.
Because we have that comparison, issue, how can you guys speak to that? Because all three of you guys have amazing platforms. It's easy to get sidetracked with competition or people who look like you. How do you guys like create that boundary where you're not doing the comparison and if you do, how are you filtering that out? I would be interested to hear what you guys have to say.
Yeah. Comparison starts with understanding your identity. It starts with you understanding who you are, what you have, what you carry, and what you have to offer, and understanding that it is valuable. If you don't know that, if you have no foundation of having that understanding, then you're going to look to the left and look to the right and think that those people are more than you, that they have more to offer, that they're more valuable, that their message means more. When in fact you have something accessible in your hand that you've been given by God that is unique to you, that's unique to your story, that's unique to your audience. And when I always tell clients, like when I work with my people, because most people come to me because they think they don't know where to start, when really a lot of them are, you don't know where to start on developing your brand and your voice, but you really don't know where to start because you're comparing, you're overthinking, you're fearful, and all these things. And the top one is comparison. And so one of the things I tell them, I said, well, if you go into a store and there's different breads, and you're looking at these different breads, there's going to be somebody that's called to that particular bread. Like the bread that I ate when I was young, at the same bread I ate when I was old, because I'm a little bougie now, So I don't eat that $1.59 bread. My bread costs $5.39, right? But people, it's a particular brand, and people like their brand. So there's going to be something unique about that particular bread that they like, or that particular brand that they like, that catches them. And so you can't look at the person to the left or right and think that they have something more than you, or that they're valuable. You have to recognize what you have to offer. And I think once you recognize that you have your own identity, your own unique identifiers that you have been given, and God has given it to you in a way that you're hardwired, and that's how He wants you to use it, then you will be able to easily go out and not compare yourself, and allow your voice to be heard, and allow your brand to be magnified, because you understand who you are.
I think at the end of the day, what Liv is saying is no one can do what you do the way that you do it. And I think that once you understand that, and once you really, like, my thing is, I don't want to be one of a kind. Like, I just want to be the one. And the reason I say that is because a lot of people try to create based upon trends instead of creating things that they naturally just love, that they, it's a part of their lifestyle, it's a part of who they are as a person, and having people flock to that. Because you have to think about it. If you're building an audience, if you're building momentum based upon a facade, eventually that's going to fall apart and you can't sustain that. And so I think one thing, going back to what Liv said, is you have to understand your unique identity and that you have something that you're carrying, that you're presenting to the world that no one else can give. No one else can do it the way that you can do it. And I think once you understand that, and once you know that fully, and once you're comfortable in that, the sky is the limit.
That is so true. So with us speaking on our self identity and everything, and this still being Mental Health Awareness Month, how do you guys basically balance between your work, your personal life overall, and engaging on social media, keeping your brand together and everything? What are some of the things that you do for yourself, and what are some of the things, feelings, and different things that you've dealt with? Mm.
Ooh. Look, I told these ladies we gonna get messy, and we just might. No, but for real, for myself, there are a lot of things for me to balance between being a journalist, being engaged with the company that I work for, being an aunt, being a sister, family, friend. And what I've learned is that the things that I deem very natural, as far as building relationships, working on projects, I have had to intentionally schedule. And it's a strange dynamic to take something that you do naturally and create a schedule around it. So, what I've done for myself, because I know that I can get caught up in work because my identity lies in my work. And I care about being, this upright professional. And that is how I've identified myself for years. So I've had to take that mindset, the structure that I have around that, and kind of be a little bit more flexible with it, and to align myself with the things that I want, and also be very real with myself. And this is such a funny question because lately I've had to cut out things that are wasting my time. I've had to realize that love is not convenient. Love is risky. And that goes for family relationships, to friend relationships, romantic relationships. And so, in order to combat the things that I know I'm weak in, I've had to create a schedule around it where I'm like, okay, I know in the evenings I'm more free. I'm taking calls from family members. I'm hanging out with my friends intentionally on the weekends, to in the mornings, planning out work and being disciplined with that and not playing with it. And I've learned that that helps me the most, creating a schedule around the things that I want to see and that I want to happen, versus just thinking like my relationship with my nieces and nephews are going to grow because we're going to hang out. But when am I going to schedule that hangout? When am I going to do that on top of all the work that I have to do? So for me, that has helped significantly, and being self-aware. Like we a little weak in some areas, and being aware of that is really important to grow.
I think it's an ever evolving process because I think at different stages of your life require something different, right? So how my lifestyle was when I was, single, living back in Maryland with all of access to all of my family members is going to look different now, being across on another coast, way on the other side, way on the other side of the states, without access to that many family members and also married. And so I think for me, it really has been about being patient with each stage of my life, but also making sure that I'm intentional about cutoff. So there are times I will literally put my phone in the other room, watch myself a show for 30 minutes, eat something that I enjoy, and take that time to just zone out. because doing something that little and that minor and that intentional, when I can't keep up with my routines, or when I'm not being as consistent, because I want to be honest, for those who aren't as disciplined and those who haven't found their rhythm and their flow yet, sometimes it's taking that piece of time that you have and doing one thing that you can do per day. So for me, it's about reminding myself that I need to give myself the same grace that I extend to everybody else, but also there's a time where I need to just cut off like everything, to take some time, whether it's to reflect, to do something I enjoy doing, to pamper myself, or just have a moment of solitude and silence. Because again, being in marketing, being in social media, it's like this all the time. Like stuff is coming at you constantly, and you have to silence that at times. So I would say make sure that you take the time to at least do one thing, to stay committed to caring for yourself, to being introspective, to taking time to do something that you love. Because at the end of the day, if your body is broken, your dreams can't function. People know that I stand by that 100%. And I am no longer going to burn myself out trying to keep up with, cycles, or try to be as perfect as everybody else. Some people don't have a routine, and that's okay. Find your flow. And that's what I'm all about. Find your flow, whatever that is for you, but make sure you're taking that time and that space to do something for you.
Yeah. Honestly, for me, this season is all about resting and awareness, because I've had so many seasons where I was like literally, honestly, scarce mentality, right? I had to get up and go. I had to run, run, run. I had to move. And it caused me great burnout to the point I was literally beginning to despise this lifestyle of this life as an entrepreneur, despising it. I'm like, okay, God, who hiring? Because this ain't giving what it's supposed to give, and I knew that he called me to this. And so if he called me to this, then it was a requirement that I would rest in it, because he's not going to call me to something that that's going to require me to be so strenuous and unbalanced. And so I've been just super aware of how I'm feeling, aware of my time, aware who I'm giving my time to, aware of how I'm spending my time, and also what feels good. And so because of that, I've allowed myself to now, make the room and make the space. It's such a transitional point, a period in my life. I'm in ministry. I'm an entrepreneur. I just launched something new, a bolder woman. And so I have to be very aware of, okay, Liv, are you putting in too much? Liv, are you overworking yourself? Liv, is this really the will of God right now? Is this what you're supposed to be doing? Or are you really supposed to be chilling? And so because I put so much time and effort into all those things, I've been very intentional about setting time aside. Now, last week, I'll tell you one thing, I was on every single patio. I was on everybody's patio last week because it was warm. And I said, look, all I have to do right now is get out the house and work. Okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to work, but I'm going to also spend some time. I'm also get some sun. And that's what I needed. I needed that to regroup. I needed that to be reignited and rejuvenated and be refreshed in order so I could fully function in the capacity that I know I'm supposed to function. And so, just resting and being aware of what I need in this season has been so pivotal for me to be able to continue on and pursuing the things that I'm supposed to be pursuing.
I set boundaries. Um I ain't never had boundaries. It is like really, really strong now. And I also got rid of things that triggered me. I've noticed my triggers a lot, even when it comes to people or when it comes to work, of things of that nature. I created my work a lot more organized, and I created it to be less on myself. And what I also learned is, even with me podcasting and I'm getting booked with so many people, I was scarred from actually having people work with me. And I got to a point where I let that guard down. So that's when I like face my fears. A lot of people need to work on their fears. So I do fear goals. And then that was one of my fear goals that I stepped out on faith on. So that's why I have a lot of women now in Arizona that's doing podcasting with me, because I was getting booked so much. But with that also being said too, if I don't want to podcast that day, I will cancel. and I will not feel bad about it. I done had different people be upset about me canceling on their clients and things of that nature. But me personally, if that's what it takes for my mental health, and out of all the things that I've been through, I'm saving myself before I save anything else. And another blessing will come right behind it. I didn't care if it was Oprah, I was going to cancel because I wasn't feeling right mentally. I just wasn't. And I didn't want to be on a platform interviewing someone. The next thing you know, I break down crying or something, you know? So I just learned how to put myself first, and I love putting myself first. It's like the greatest feeling, most peaceful feeling ever in history, and I feel great about it. And it also freed up my mind. It freed up my mind to a point to open up to new things that I never thought I would be doing. And it's a great feeling to even experience the new things, but I still go through different feelings and still grieving between my mom, my husband, my cousin. It's just like a battle, but I know when to take my breaks because I don't want to get into full depression. And also having a someone to speak to, a counselor, is great, and even having great friends like y'all and other people surrounding me. I know when to talk when I really really need that help. So I will give anybody advice to set boundaries and work on your fears. A lot of times your fears is the ending of your blessing and the beginning of it too. So that's one of the greatest things that you should work on, y'all too.
That was a little word. Oh, you're that with the word.
Wasn't it? Can you put that on a t-shirt, please?
Yes. Yes, for sure. It just it's just really hard for people to really work on themselves and love on themselves because we're all, especially women, we're naturally nurturing individuals. And we just don't know when to sit down. We don't know when to shut up. We don't know when to set boundaries. We don't know how to put ourselves first. We don't know how to do none of that. So that's like a lot of things that I have literally worked on for myself. And all it does is empower you the more you get strength of resisting those things as far as that are negative in your life. And then you'll realize how much you will blossom so much and grow so much mentally, and your body starts to feel good, and you'll take little steps to new things that you never thought you would experience. So it's a great feeling. It's a stepping stone, but I love it though. I can honestly say that I love it.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. It's been a blessing to see how much you've grown, and even to see you set these boundaries, and to still show up. Me and you had a laughing moment earlier when we are like, and still, we're like, we need to put that on a t-shirt. It's in those, and still, and still you still show up, and still, those moments you still show up when you didn't have to. After all the grieving, after all the things and all the hell that tried to come your way, you still showed up. So it's just been a blessing to see you do that. So I just want to give you your flowers, now, because it's been encouraging to watch. You still build I mean, everything that Yvette Lloyd touches turns to gold. Okay. Not one platform she touched don't blow up and turn viral. I'm like, dang, man, like you need to start another business, okay? Because you need to teach people how to go viral. Because that's what she do. Everything you touch. So it's clear that you are called to this industry, and it's amazing to see that you haven't you haven't moved away from your humility. You're still one of the most humble people I know. And two, even with all the things you've been through, you still have pressed past and show what it looks like to persevere and to just show up. And I'm grateful for that. So thank you for always doing that.
Thank you, friend.
You're welcome.
Thank you. It's hard. And I do want to touch base on things that are hard to do, that to show up, because a lot of people see everything working in your favor. But a lot of times we don't show too many of our failures, and we don't share it quite often. And that's what you know, the assumptions come in when people will paint your life into something so major that doesn't even exist. And you're like, wow, thank you for thinking of me that way. I appreciate you, but I ain't made it that far yet. But you know, sometimes people speak things into existence for you. Are those some of the things that you guys been through personally? Also, a lot of people thinking you are at some a certain type of level when you really haven't made it there. You just make yourself look good until you really make it happen.
Listen, listen. People always say, I just let people prophesy to me. I'm like, you say what? Okay, I receive it in Jesus' name, because you see something. Maybe I think sometimes people see something in you quite that you don't see right yet in yourself. And it might be the direction and the momentum that you are moving in, but you know, it doesn't mean that it's not going to happen. And so, like, for people always think that I'm in fashion, and I've even allowed the things that people know me for be the data, like Vanessa was talking about earlier. I allow that to be the data. I'm like, okay, well, maybe that's something I should be moving towards. Maybe that's something, you know, as I had someone ask me about fashion, how can you help me get my bag, my Shein? I love Shein. Okay. I love Shein. I really think I'm going to get a brand deal with Shein at some point, right? They're like, can you help me fill my carts? And because I love how you style, I love your style, and I want to be more confident. I'm like, well, maybe this is something I need to be touching. And I had multiple people tell me that, like, I just see that for you. I'm like, okay, well, let's do this, you know. And so I started consulting them on style, and it worked, you know. And I'm like, okay, people just either they just want to pay me for every single thing that I do and say I do, or they see this on me, you know. And so I've allowed that to be, I've allowed that to be like the direction I've gone in sometimes, you know. And I'm grateful for it. I'm like, well, if you can see that, if in moments where it seems like I can't see it, because you know, in many times in our lives, I don't know about you, but I've been in many valley moments, and so it's been in those moments that they saw me doing something that I wasn't in no moment, in those hard seasons, and I'm like, okay, that's encouraging. And so if you can see that, then I know that there's another side to this, so I'm gonna keep going. So I've just received it and accepted that. Okay, maybe y'all see that I'm gonna be this high influencer like Yvette, you know, with 100,000 followers or whatever, and making a huge impact, because numbers really don't matter, but it's about the impact for me. I'll take it.
Yeah, I would have to say for me, which Liv, come through with the story. Like, oh, it's so encouraging. I would say for me, one of the things that I'm so happy about in my life is that I have happiness. Like, I obtain being happy. And for that, I feel like I am successful. And people might see the things that I do, how I do it, when I do it, whatever. But my biggest success is that I am happy with my life. And when the spectators or the haters, you know, think that my life has just been microwavable, I do get defensive about it. And I know that's not always the right way to approach something, but I worked so hard to be here. You know, I sacrificed in 2014, I sacrificed comfort, I sacrificed location, money. I was sleeping in my car, sleeping on couches, traveling, doing weird stuff, not eating what I wanted. I didn't have the right clothes to network. I didn't have the right material to network. And I was like a freelancer trying to learn code. I was doing so much just to mold a life that I wanted. And a lot of people did not see that journey. And though I talk about it, it gets skipped over because the photos are really nice, and they are really nice. And I make sure that they're nice. But listening to my story for me is what I would want someone to understand and see and hear, versus them looking at the final product of what I've been able to produce, because I fought so hard for my happiness. And whenever something comes my way, I'm still fighting for that piece if I get off track or whatever. And yeah, so for that, and I've had comments, several comments, and a lot of DMs about, you know, you just make everything look so easy. Not everybody can be an entrepreneur. Not everybody can make money. And though I have a lot of words for that, I know the work that I put in, and I don't have to confirm it with anybody as far as what kind of work I've put in, but I will share it because I think it's important to understand the journey. So that's my little tidbit. Without being too messy on the Live Her podcast, that's my little tidbit.
I have a whole lot to say. I think a lot of people, they love the power, but they don't understand the process. And I think a lot of times people see the outcomes of the work that you've put in and the sleepless nights and the tears that you've cried, and they love to celebrate it when you have a moment of power, position, purpose that is just shining through, where it's like, oh my gosh, what you're doing is amazing and all this other kind of stuff. But what it took to build what they see on the other end was a sacrifice that they may not be willing to pay themselves. And, you know, I'm going to speak very candidly because I feel like it can be helpful to someone. For me, when I was diagnosed with triple negative breast cancer and going through that process of chemotherapy, like it was hard because I was a full-time entrepreneur and I was going through my final semester of grad school. And so in 2016, when people saw like She Rocks and like how amazing it was and all of the things that was happening with that, they didn't know that I was pushing to like persevere to have that event only because I wanted a woman to know that like in moments where you feel like giving up, like don't quit, because there's another woman on the other side who needs to see that no matter what you're going through, no matter what you have to endure, like you can make it through that process. And I'm talking about, you know, trying to find the money to fund it because I'm spending it all on, you know, really living. I like at this point, because I worked for myself, I didn't have a job, I didn't have no source of income, I couldn't work for clients. And then the aftermath, even after that, yeah, I had this amazing event and I received accolades. And that year, like after I won like 40 under 40 from the Prince George's County Social Innovation Fund, and I got to go to New York and be in the Hello Beautiful studio, and all of that was amazing. But I was crying on the floor. I was depressed. I didn't have no job. I was like applying for job after job after job after job, trying to rebuild my life. And even with this last year's She Rocks event, everybody sees that virtual gallery, but they don't see the lack of investment and partnership when it comes to the thousands of dollars that came out of my pocket to invest into what I wanted the vision to look like. And so you can celebrate the other side of success, but oftentimes I think it's very important for people to know that there is a sacrifice attached to that blessing, attached to that outcome, attached to that power. When you look at some of the most powerful people in the world, be it men or women, there is something significant that they had to go through to get that. And so I think for me, it's about really understanding and knowing your why and your point of push. And when I say your point of push, I think about a mom, right, who labors and she wants the baby, right? She wants to bring life into the world, just like we want our gifts and our things to shine. We want to be able to walk in our purpose, but pushing that baby out and laboring through it it's rough and it hurts and it's painful and it's not easy. But she remembers that this life is something that she helped to create. It's something beautiful. It's something that she wants the world to experience. She wants her baby to have a chance at life and to enter into this world. And I think it's the same way with our purpose and the things that we love. And so I had to think about, what are my reasons why? Like, why do I get up and do this? Why am I willing to endure the pain? Because it's nice and it seems nice to be an entrepreneur until like you're flat on your back, broke with no means of income, and you have to really work your way back into income and work your way back into like identifying what your next, step or next move is. So I would say to everybody, really take time to find your point of push and know that the journey, whatever journey you're on, because everybody isn't called to entrepreneurship, it isn't going to be easy. But if you know and understand what you're willing to travail for and what you're willing to push for, it makes it all worth it when you see and experience the outcome.
Wait a minute. Hold Hold on, because I missed the I must have missed the question. I thought you was asking what people saw on your life when you thought that when they thought you was here and you wasn't supposed to be there. Because I got a whole lot to say about that. But Tamiya, you've told that story so many times. And that when I've heard it, like I talked to you on Clubhouse, and every single time I'm like literally holding back his tears because just the fact how you had triple negative breast cancer, and here you are like doing so much, like I just get chills. I just had to say that. I had to say that. It's so amazing, but you're so right. Like people don't understand what it takes to travail through the life of entrepreneurship, and everybody is absolutely not called to it. Everybody is not called to it. What I just heard each of y'all talk about how y'all have suffered, and I think probably each of us have suffered. I know I've suffered sitting in the car for 10 to 12 hours after losing everything that I had, after losing my car, crying, wondering, God, this is not the promise that you said I was supposed to have. This is not what you said. These aren't the dreams that I seen. This is not what you said that you would give me the desires in my heart, and so it's hard to have that, to desire or to have this desire to be an entrepreneur. And actually, I didn't even have the desire. I was pushed into it because I was laid off and ended up only being the only person laid off after a whole department being laid off. Like, God, did you really just set that up and orchestrate that like that? Where I'm literally the whole department was laid off, but everybody got a job except for me. And because you were pushing me out to entrepreneurship, and then I lost everything I had. People don't see that side of it. They be like, oh, okay, I see where you are. I see what you have. I see that you're building this business, but they don't see those late nights. They don't see where your hair started falling out because you're so stressed out. They don't see that you woke up and then you woke up drinking coffee and you're going to sleep drinking coffee because all you have is this business and you're trying to build it. Like it's crazy to me. And it's also just crazy to see how each of us like have persevered through all of those seasons. I mean, and honestly, some of us are still in them. I'm still persevering through because I haven't reached the precipice of where I want to be. I haven't reached the moment, the hill, the mountain top of where I want to be. I still have plenty of valley moments. People don't quite recognize that. I promise y'all, I thought that question was about. I'm like, maybe I was hearing what I wanted to hear because I'm like, what y'all see on my life?
Yeah, real deep.
Real deep,
yeah.
right? I'm still dealing with hell. I'm still trying to get through. But man, people see what they want to see at the end of the day, but they don't know how hard it is on the other side. And it's telling these stories of transparency and vulnerability that helps people say, okay, is this really what I want or not? Maybe not.
Right. I would have to say too that like I know when I first started as an entrepreneur before my agency that like confidence was such an issue for me. And I played with the idea of like, okay, I'm gonna just like fake it till I make it. But when you're signing $1,000 contracts, that is not going to work very well. And I had to deal with like, how do I become more confident? Like, how does a person become more confident? We hear all the time, you should be confident. You should, think of yourself in a certain way. And I had to really discover, like, how do I get to that point where I feel confident about who I am and what I'm doing in my business? And I found confidence through making myself uncomfortable, and being more prepared. And that helped a lot. And I feel like oftentimes we're so afraid to be weak. Like we're so afraid of it that we try to skip to the next thing. And sometimes being in that weakness or being in that fear, like you said, Yvette, it helps to liberate you versus trying to skip over it or compensate in different ways for it. And for me, as I started out as an entrepreneur, I remember I would go to panels and they're talking about KPIs, bottom line, financials, strategy. But I'm coming in like, where's your confidence? When you get into that meeting, where's your confidence? What are you doing? How are you preparing for that? How do you feel about yourself emotionally? Like, have you taken yourself into consideration? Do you feel bad about something? Like, let's talk about that. Those other things are very important. And those things are always going to be mentioned in those workshops and those kind of conversations in the panels. But for me, because I struggle with confidence as an entrepreneur, I was like, all right, I'm going to have these conversations like in the midst of talking about KPIs. I'm going to talk about confidence because I felt like that topic does not get discussed as much as I would like. So
A lot of people are afraid of their truth, and they don't understand when you express your truth and you become your authentic self publicly. In a sense, it creates you to be loved more, admired more, understood more. It's just so much more that actually comes with it. I've done been through so much stuff to a point. I never been so transparent publicly until now. So now when people see me, they see me for me. If I say I can't do something, they know why I can't do something. And it done created it so much. My audience will know that. But it's just so much things that come with entrepreneurship, and losing things is very hard. I didn't only lose family members, I lost a daycare center. And then a lot of people don't know, a lot of people sometimes they will laugh at a person for losing the things that they had. They will talk about them so bad for losing the things that they had and worked so hard for, but they don't know that billionaire that they admire, that they heard just say a beautiful speech, is the same person that lost something just like I did. So when I make it to that billionaire status, don't look at me as a person of motivating and inspiring at that very moment, because at the moment in the past you laughed. So that's a lot of things that create me to continue to move forward, because the laughter of others creates me to push even more. And it also creates me to actually see a person for who they are and always circle myself around love. And a lot of people don't understand, a lot of times when pain comes and someone talk about you and all of that, don't take it so personal internally. Take it to a point where it's so motivating, to a point where you need to show out and show up for yourself. And that's what pushes me constantly all the time. A lot of evil things that I've heard when my mother passed, a lot of things I've heard when my husband passed, a lot of things I've heard when I stopped doing Fidea, a lot of things that I've heard when I lost my daycare, a lot of things that I've heard constantly, to a point I end up having to stop individuals for coming to me with anything. I will stop them in their tracks, because now it's to a point, if you sit there and listen, I don't want to listen to you or no longer talk to you,
Wait a
because then
minute, was that a PSA?
seriously, it's to a point when, if a person is comfortable talking to you about my situation and it was no defending there, what is the point for us to even keep going with the conversation? And it's about character. If a person know your character and you're in someone's life, you're supposed to know that person inside. And if you're friends with them, you need to know them inside, not whatever was somebody else saying. You take that in internally. It's about knowing a person. And that's where a lot of friendships build, a lot of relationships, business ships, a lot of that build from that, from you continuing on with things of that nature. And that's what another reason why I never quit, because once I lost everything, I already built many relationships over the years of me having a daycare, and over the years of me having Fidea, to a point where Life Her podcast became so easy, because I've already had friends working in the media industry. I already had relationships with celebrities just off a natural friendship and not no business ship. So now it's to a point where people will literally pour into whatever I'm doing, and I have their clients just coming left and right from different individuals. And that's where those blessings come in. I don't have much money coming in just yet, but it's going to be coming. But at the same time, it's about having that love, that passion, that consistency, that tunnel vision, that love for yourself, and that mental health portion of you continuing on to keep pushing, because the outside people, they don't matter. They will never matter. They will never mean absolutely nothing to you, because they don't involve in your life anywhere at all. And that's where most of us have to understand and train ourselves mentally to actually grasp that. It takes a lot of discipline. It takes a whole lot of discipline. And I was blessed to have a mother that disciplined me in that area starting at a young age. So that's what makes it so easy for me now. But even with her passing, it created me to be even stronger in that area due to me being in her womb and still having that connection with her not being here. It's like a whole strong another level of a connection and also power that you could build upon yourself. But that's when you also can listen to God, and He will direct you, He will stop you, He will point fingers to a point you be like, man, where'd that come from? And you could feel it. Like I feel things all the time. I feel when people's energy shift, even business conversations, when I know it's full of evilness to it, I hear it in their voice. Their voices change. So it's different things that you have to tune into as far as self-worth for you to understand the people who you're surrounded by and communicating with. But with that being said, as far as your business wise, that's why I always say mind your business, because you will be so surprised on how much business you got for yourself. Seriously, a whole lot. Vanessa, hush. Listen. Don't start, Vanessa.
No, I know I ain't gonna do nothing too crazy. But I will say, like, I really love how you've been so authentic on your platform. Some of these quotes you be putting out, I get scared. I'm like, ooh, she's talking about somebody. And it's like, it's so juicy. I'm like, man, Yvette's coming with some heat. And it encourages me too to be transparent as well in that same way. And so I love seeing your posts, and you're like, the reason why you can't get ahead is because you're jealous of your best friend. And I'm like, you bet. I'm like, you bet just putting this stuff out. Like, yes. I'm like, and somebody, whoever that's for, is supposed to see that. They're gonna see it. And I'm hoping that it does something to help them push forward, to identify, maybe this does mean something to you. Do something about it, you know. And so, yeah, I love those posts. I'm like, oh,
But it's reality though. It, and necessarily it doesn't have to just be out for that person. It's basically a lot of things that we think and we just don't say it.
yeah,
But if you say it, people be like, man, I was thinking that. I felt that way. So it's like if it pops up in my mind, I'm going to share it because it's going to relate to somebody and they're going to be like, "Man, I I I do feel that way." It's just a lot of people now, they want to hear real things now. They don't want to hear all the fabricated stuff. They don't want to see all of that mess no more. They want to hear what's real, even though some people still don't want to hear it. We ain't got to worry about them folks, but we just need to worry about them people that really want to hear it. And it's a lot of them.
It's the simple. It's the making it plain for me. You got to simplify things. Sometimes we be trying to be so extra deep, and it goes right over people's head. And I think you're really good at that. You just simplify it, and you make it so relevant and so real. And that's why people come to you and people love you, because it's so real. It's like you the home girl. And you add a little preaching in there, and they be like, "Oh, okay, she preaching," like. But I think that's necessary. I think that people, we said it earlier. People need authenticity. They need you to snatch their edges really quick to get them together. It's not that people don't like necessarily truth. Some people don't like truth, but the people that will need to receive it, they will receive it. It won't be for everybody else, but then, but it won't be for everybody
wait a minute.
I knew Vanessa was gonna react when you said snatch edges.
Don't do that. That's a source of
For real. People just need it. I mean, people need it. Everybody won't say they need it, but they need it. And so you do an amazing job at that.
Well, thank you so much. So with it being 3 hours behind in the coast where Miss Thang got. And it's getting late for us. Could you guys share some words of encouragement for people not only take care of themselves mentally, also the fact of keep going with their brand and let them understand if that's not for them, don't let it be for them. And a lot of times people don't understand exactly that may not be your gift that you see somebody else is doing because you feel like you can make money off of it. It may be something else. So I think a lot of people really need to understand your gift is for you. It's not coming from that person that you see doing it.
Mhm.
So we could give a whole breakdown with that and some encouraging words right along with it. Starting
Yeah.
with whoever.
I'll go since I'm the only one off mute. Um, I think one of the most defining things in somebody's life is one understanding who they are, understanding what they have, and understanding how to function in it. And you can't every good thing that you do is not always a God thing. And so you need to be aware enough of yourself to understand who you are and what you have to offer. Sometimes that might come through your own personal story. It might come through your passion. It might come through a level of expertise with something that you've actually gone and got educated on. But know what that thing is and find your rhythm and find your stride in that and be okay with it. If it doesn't start big, that's cool. Don't despise the small beginnings. Those small things, those small seeds that you plant, they will be big. They'll turn big. You just have to be faithful with it. Start off with what you have. Allow the word says, "Too much is given, much is required." And it also says that if who's faithful with little, God will give them more. So do what you have with what you have. And don't be such in this place of where you're so worried about the future, because you're never going to see each and every step. Just take the first step to go with what you have now, and then allow every other step to be guided, and just keep going and recognize that you have something. There is something of value that is in you. There's a solution that is in the pit of your belly. There is a resource that you have to offer that is going to be valuable to unlock keys in the destiny for other people. So just continue to move forward.
Come on and preach, Liv.
I'm sorry. When I get in the mode,
I'm like dinner.
Yeah, can I get y'all on my Cash App? I'm taking offerings. No,
Come on, we will give you an offering on tonight.
Listen, that's all the words I got for the people. Amen.
I'm done. When she said in the pit of your belly, I said, "Oh yeah, that's that church coming out." I'm a church baby too. I grew up in church all my life. I can't I try and it always comes out.
You just can't run from it. It just stirs up.
It's just in us. So that was good. That was a whole word. For me, I said it before. I'm gonna say it again because I'm very passionate about this. Again, if your body is broken, your dreams cannot function. Your body is the vehicle through which your dreams happen and function. So it is so important, and I cannot stress this enough, because I feel like a lot of people in general, because we live in such a hustle culture and such a burnout culture, you got to grind, team no sleep. I don't believe in that. You better get your sleep, because you only have one body. And in order for you to be high functioning, in order for you to produce and give the type of output that you want, I think we all want to be great. We all want to be excellent, but you can't be excellent and drowsy at the same time. You can't be excellent and burned out and tapped out. And then also, I don't want women to feel the need to hustle. I heard somebody say this, that they wanted to live a life of ease. And I think that we all owe it to ourselves to live a life of ease. I think, yes, be disciplined. Yes, work hard. That doesn't mean working hard doesn't mean burn yourself out. Working hard means that you are committed to carrying through your vision until you see it come to pass, right? So I always say, I vow to carry the weight of my dream. No matter how heavy it gets, I will remember that it is mine. Inconsistency is a dream killer, and I will not allow it to kill my dream. Why? Because I know that consistency is something that I am constantly striving towards. And so for me, I really like to push, and I really want people to hear this. You do not have to kill yourself accomplishing your dream. You do not have to burn yourself out accomplishing your dream. Like Yvette said, put those boundaries in place so that you are able to strive towards your dream without burning yourself out. You know what I mean? So I think in order for you to maintain through the journey and through the process of getting to where you ultimately want to be, make sure that you're loving on yourself. Make sure that you're taking care of yourself. Don't feel the need to force production or force creation, because if you're not feeling it, then it is inauthentic. If you're not feeling it, then you're not going to be giving the people who come to reap from you, you're not giving them your best because you're tapped out, because you don't have it to give. And so that's my number one message above anything else, because I don't want people to feel like they have to keep, burning themselves out and hustling for their. I don't want to hustle. Like that's not my goal. I don't want to hustle. I actually want the process I want to work with ease. I want to work with a flow, with knowing that this is something I'm meant to do. This is something I love to do, but I'm putting boundaries and stop starts in place as needed, but I'm committed to the process. So y'all don't go burning yourselves out.
Yeah, Tamiya, thank you so much for sharing that, because that was my life for a good while. Like, if I wasn't stressed working as an entrepreneur or working a job, I didn't feel like I was productive. And it was because when I was in college, I worked and grind so hard to be this personality, to be a media personality, to build this thing. And I mean, I remember getting like brain zaps. I don't know if y'all ever heard that before, but it's like almost like a current that goes through your mind, and you feel a zap, literally. And it was because I was pushing it so hard, because I was like, well, if I want to be successful, successful looks like compromising my health and like feeling bad and feeling stressed. But hey, I got the work done. Hey, I'm getting an award as a producer. Hey, I'm getting acknowledgments. Hey, I'm getting all these celebrity friends. Like, I interviewed Common, I thought I was on top of the world, but I was sick. I was so sick that when I was interviewing Common, I forgot to press record. And he was so nice to me. He let me re-record our interview. But he told me, and this is so funny, he was like, look, you don't get opportunities like this. So next time, don't do that. But he said it in a very nice voice. He said it in a very nice tone. But I remember just being so stressed out. And so I'm happy that you said that, because that was my life for a good while. And even now, like, I have to check myself, like, chill, like, calm down. When my heart is beating too fast or I'm getting too stressed out, I'm like, chill, go get some ice cream. I have a bunny now, so I'm like, hang out with your bunny, watch a movie. I'm watching Insecure regularly. So I'm happy that you said that. I would say for me, my advice moving forward is two things that I feel like helped me with my journey. And it's like, it's okay to be curious. It's okay to be curious about how things work, how to build your platform, being curious about how to be more self-aware, being curious about what are the right networking events to go to, who do I need to talk to, being curious about setting boundaries, like, we've all mentioned here. And the other thing would be testing. So like, as you're building a platform, as you're trying to build up your mindset, testing out what works for you and what doesn't is okay. You can change your brand, you can make a pivot, it is okay. And I think starting out, that's what I needed to hear, because I thought I had to get locked into something, because I saw so many other people getting locked into what they do and what they believe. And I thought I had to do it. But there was like a funny feeling I would feel with certain things. And, reading books and looking at other mentors and stuff like that, I was like, okay, I can be curious and it's okay. I can test something, see how it works for me. And if I don't like it, I can pivot, and that's okay. Like, it is oh damn okay. And that has helped me the most. And that's the advice I will offer people. Like, being curious is a superpower. Not knowing is okay. testing is okay, because then when you get it, you'll understand it more. And that's why I love testing. It's like, if I test this brand, I see it works better. I test this video, I test the mindset, I test the relationship. It's like you're observant and you're better able to see what really works for you. And it's those things that make you feel good, that like make you flow, and you're just so at ease doing certain things. You're like, okay, this is where I'm supposed to be now. I get it. And that has helped me the most in my career thus far.
I would say storms. A lot of us go through different storms, and those storms are very hard for us. It will create depression, it will create us to have suicidal thoughts, it will create us to be at our absolute lowest times. And in those storms, of what I've learned on a personal level was the fact that when I hit my storm at the end, as far as me having high blood pressure, I knew when I had to go, when I went to the hospital, it was to a point where I could have died. My blood pressure was so high. So, me going through that storm and me feeling so low to the point, I had to learn that you have to be calm during your storm. You have to observe what's going on during that time with you having a storm, because it's a lot of things that God will show you during those moments. And the things that He's showing you is the fact that things that you won't have to experience in the near future, as far as you stopping yourself before you actually react to it. So it's either something that you should react to it and you shouldn't, which you would know the difference once you tune in into yourself. And I've learned during that time after those storms, it is always a huge blessing in the end. It could not be as huge as like something like so amazing to a point where, you be rich tomorrow. But it could be the smallest blessing, as far as like me getting a new kid enrolled at my daycare. I look at that as a blessing, or me being able to go to the gas station to get gas right now. That's a blessing. It's just the smallest things, to a point where we think so big and we want so much from God, and we feel so disappointed when He don't give it to us, when it's just not your time and you asking for too much. You need to backtrack and think about the small things that you need to work on for yourself before you actually get to the things that's really deserving, the things that you really worked hard for. And sometimes it take forever, a whole lifetime, for you to get something, because a lot of times of us being so good to people, we'd be like, dang, when is gonna be our time? Everybody getting blessed but us, and all this. We think of so many things, but we need to look at the smaller things that really got us through and making us become a better version of ourselves constantly, because we have all grown mentally in so many ways. And we have to understand, a lot of times we don't need all of those blessings, because it may change us. We don't know that. It may change us for the good. It may change us for the bad. We don't know. But only God knows what's for us and what isn't for us. And we just have to accept the things that He do give us. And that's a lot of times where people don't understand. When you don't accept those things and you sound so ungrateful, you are blocking other blessings to come with that small portion of things that you do want and need for you to continue on to move forward. So that's my advice for everyone, to actually examine, observe your storms, because you are being shown things that you need to know for that very moment, and for you to also continue to move forward in life and feel better for yourself and keep pushing.
You better preach, girl.
You're
Preach.
so amazing, Yvette.
Thank you, friend. Thank you. Well, y'all, thank you so much for being on here. I really appreciate y'all so much.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
This has been great. I'm like, come on, Black
100%.
women. We just.
I'm
We just
always
run.
you've always been so supportive and always there for me, in front of the scenes and behind the scenes, 100%. So I would not pull up for you.
Okay. Okay.
Well,
You're one of my biggest cheerleaders, so I'm always here.
Yes.
thank you, y'all. But one thing I do want y'all to know, y'all do need to check out She Rock.
Hey,
Okay.
next year is 10 years and it's going to be in DC. And
Congratulations.
thank you. This upcoming year is going to be.
Y'all, we going.
Well, I'm about to say, we about to make a trip out of it. When is it going to be, Tamiya?
It's going to be in DC.
No, when?
Oh, on this last weekend of March. It's always the last weekend of March. So that Friday through that Saturday. It's going to be 4 events, 2 days, Friday, Saturday, the last Saturday in March of 2023. Pull up. It's going down.
We're pulling up.
Listen, y'all, let me tell y'all, hearing her talk her testimony every time on how she had cancer, doing She Rock and everything, I've seen her work so hard, going up and down steps, getting people to perform left and right, making sure people taking photos, making sure vendors okay, making sure the door is okay, putting these events together. The girl be working hard. And if y'all see how amazing and how professional and beautiful this event looked, you could tell she spent thousands of dollars on it too. I mean, it's so beautiful, and it's culture. Like, it's literally culture, and I've enjoyed it over the years. What has been like 5 years I've been
Yeah,
coming?
you've been one of our long-standing partners, and I cannot thank you enough for
It might be longer than that.
because it takes other women pouring in other women-owned businesses. Like, if you want excellence, if you want quality, it really takes us supporting one another and being there for one another, because it can be discouraging doing stuff like that. It's a lot. It's exhausting, but being able to see your face and know that you're there and having that support means the world. Like, it means so much. It warms my heart.
You're welcome. I just can't wait to it again. Last time me and James came to it.
Yeah.
He was like, what is this? This is amazing. He loved every moment of it. And that
was so rough. I think that was the time where we shifted it for the first time to like September. Yeah. And it was like after my grandmother had passed away and my brother got in a traumatic motorcycle accident. And I just was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this event, but it has to happen, but, having you there and just having people there to support, it means a lot, even in those rough, moments. So I appreciate you.
Well, me and the girls will be there.
Yay! I can't wait. It's going to be so much fun.
Yes, definitely. Well, thank you, y'all. We are going to do this again, so be looking out for an email.
I'm down.
I'm excited. I love this. It was amazing.
I'll be there. Just let me know the day and the time.
All right. Well, good night, y'all. Peace out, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to Life, Her, and Friends. I appreciate y'all. Good night.